The William Lynch speech of 1712 on how to make a slave. This speech was delivered by a white slave owner, William Lynch, on the bank of the James River in 1712. Gentlemen, I greet you here on the banks of the James River in the year of our Lord, 1712. First, I shall thank you, the gentlemen of the colony of Virginia, for bringing me here. I am here to help you solve some of your problems with slaves. Your invitation reached me on my modest plantation in the West Indies, where I have experimented with some of the newest and still the oldest methods for control of slaves. Ancient Rome would envy us in my program if my program is implemented, as our boat sailed south on the James River, named for our illustrious king, whose version of the Bible we cherish. I saw enough to know that your problem is not unique. While Rome used cords of wood as crosses for standing human bodies along its old highways in great numbers, you are here using the tree and rope on occasion. I caught the whiff of a dead slave hanging from a tree a couple of miles back. You're not only losing valuable stock by hangings, you are having uprisings. Slaves are running away. Your crops are sometimes left in the fields for too long for maximum profit. You suffer occasional fires. Your animals are killed. Gentlemen, you know what your problems are. I do not need to elaborate. I am not here to enumerate your problems. I am here to introduce you to a method of solving them. In my bag here, I have a foolproof method of controlling your black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slave for at least 300 years. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. These methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies, and it will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On top of my list is age, but it is only there because it starts with A. The second is color or shade. There's intelligence, size, sex, size of plantations, status on plantation, attitude of owners, whether the slave live in the valley or on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now that you have a list of differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have all your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. But it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. Gentlemen, these kits are keys to control. Use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. If used intensely for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. The systematic physical breaking and psychological reversing process. In other words, break the will to resist. Now the breaking process is the same for both the horse, the nigger, only slightly varying in degrees. But as we said before, there is an art in long-range economic planning. You must keep your eye and thoughts on the female and the offspring of the horse and the nigger. A brief discourse in offspring development will shed light on the key to sound economic principles. Pay little attention to the generation of original breaking, but concentrate on future generations. Therefore, if you break the female mother, she will break the offspring in its early years of development. And when the offspring is old enough to work, she will deliver it up to you, for her normal female protective tendencies will have been lost in the original breaking process. For example, take the case of the wild stud horse, a female horse, and an already infant horse, and compare the breaking process with two captured nigger males in their natural state. A pregnant nigger woman with her infant offspring. Take the stud horse, break him for limited containment, completely break the female horse until she becomes very gentle, whereas you or anybody else can ride her in comfort. Breed the mare and the stud until you have the desired offspring. Then you can turn the stud to freedom until you need him again. Train the female horse whereby she will eat out of your hand, and she will in turn train the infant horse to eat out of your hand also. When it comes to breaking the uncivilized nigger, use the same process, but vary the degree and step up the pressure so as to do a complete reversal of the mind. Take the meanest and the most restless nigger, strip him of his clothes in front of the remaining male niggers, the female and the infant nigger. Tar and feather him, tie each leg to a different horse faced in opposite directions. Set him afire and beat both horses to pull him apart in front of the remaining nigger. The next step is to take a bullwhip and beat the remaining nigger male to the point of death in front of the female and the infant. Don't kill him, but put the fear of God in him, for he can be useful for future breeding. The breaking process of the African woman. Then take the female, run a series of tests on her to see if she will submit to your desires willingly. Test her in every way because she is the most important factor for good economics. If she shows any sign of resistance in submitting completely to your will, do not hesitate to use the bull whip on her to extract the last bit of female dog. Editor's note, the original letter said the B word, out of her. Take care not to kill her, for in doing so, you spoil good economics. When in complete submission, she will train her offspring in the early years to submit to labor when they become of age. Understanding is the best thing. Therefore, we shall go deeper into this area of the subject matter concerning what we produced here in the breaking process of the female nigger. We have reversed the relationships. In her natural, uncivilized state, she would have a strong dependency on the uncivilized. Excuse me. Nigger male, and she would have a limited protective tendency toward her independent male offspring and would raise the female offspring to be dependent like her. Nature had provided for this type of balance. We reverse nature by burning and pulling one civilized nigger apart and bullwhipping the other to the point of death, all in her presence. By her being left alone, unprotected, with the male image destroyed. The ordeal caused her to move from the psychological dependent state to a frozen independent state. In the frozen psychological state, the independent, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. In the frozen psychological state of independence, she will raise her male and female offspring in reverse roles. For fear of the young male's life, she will psychologically train him to be mentally weak, independent, but physically strong? Because she has become psychologically independent, she will train her female offspring to be psychologically independent. What have you got? You've got the nigger woman out front and the nigger man behind and scared. This is the perfect situation for sound sleep economics. Before the breaking process, we had to be alertly on guard at all times. Now we can sleep soundly, for out of frozen fear, this woman stands guard for us. He cannot get past her early infant slave molding process. He is a good tool, now ready to be tied up to the horse at a tender age. By the time a nigger boy reaches the age of 16, he is soundly broken and ready for long life of sound and efficient work and the reproduction of a unit of good labor force. Continually through the breaking of uncivilized savage niggers by throwing the nigger female savage into a frozen psychological state of independence by killing off the protective male image and by creating a submissive, dependent mint mind of the nigger male savage, we have created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless a phenomenon occurs and reshifts the position of the male and female savages. We show what we mean by example. Take the case of the two economic slave unit, examine them closely. The Negro marriage unit. We breed two nigger males with two nigger females. Then we take the nigger male away from them and keep them moving and working. Take the nigger male away, then keep them moving and working. Say the one nigger female bears another nigger female and the other bears a nigger male, both nigger females being without influence of the nigger male image, frozen with an independent psychology, will raise their offspring in reverse positions. The one with the female offspring will teach her to be like herself, independent and non-negotiable. We negotiate with her, through her, by her, negotiate at her will. The one with the nigger male offspring, she being frozen with a subconscious fear for his life, will raise him to be mentally dependent and weak, but physically strong. In other words, body over mind. Now, in a few years, when these two offsprings become fertile for early reproduction, we will mate and breed them and continue the cycle. That is good, sound, and long-range comprehensive planning. Warning. Possible interloping negatives. Earlier, we talked about the non-economic good of the horse and the nigger in their wild or natural state. We talked about the principle of breaking and tying them together for orderly production. Furthermore, we talked about paying particular attention to the female savage and her offspring for orderly future planning. Then, more recently, we stated that by reversing the positions of the male and female savages, we had created an orbiting cycle that turns on its own axis forever, unless a phenomenon occurred and reshifted. I am a phenomenon. Position of the male and female savages. Our experts warn us about the possibility of this phenomenon occurring. For they say that the mind has a strong drive to correct and recorrect itself over a period of time. If it can touch some substantial original historical base, and they advised us that the best way to deal with this phenomenon is to shave off the brute's mental history and create a multiplicity of phenomena of illusion, so that each illusion will twirl in its own orbit, something similar to floating balls in a vacuum. This creation of multiplicity of phenomena of illusion illusions entails the principles of crossbreeding the nigger and the horse, as we stated above, the purpose of which is to create a diversified division of labor, the results of which is the severance of the points of the original beginnings for each spirit illusion, since we feel that the subject matter may get more complicated as we proceed in laying down our economic plan concerning the purpose, reason, and effort of crossbreeding horses and niggers. We shall lay down the following definitional terms for future generations. Orbiting cycle means a thing turning a given path. Axis means upon which or around which a body turns. Phenomenon means something beyond ordinary concentration and inspires awe and wonder. Multiplicity means a great number. Spirit means globe. Crossbreeding a horse means taking a horse and breeding it with an ass, and you get dumb, backwards ass, long head mule that is not reproductive nor productive by itself. Crossbreeding niggers means taking so many drops of good white blood and putting them into as many nigger women as possible, varying the drops by the various tones that you want, and then letting them breed with each other until the circle of colors appears as you desire. What this means is this: put the niggers and the horse in the breeding pot, mix some asses and some good white blood, and what do you get? You get multiplicity of colors of ass, backward, unusual, niggers running tied to backward ass, long head mules. The one productive of itself, the other sterile. The one constant, the other dying. We keep the nigger constant, for we may replace the mule with another tool. Both mule and nigger tied to each other, neither knowing where the other came from, and neither productive for itself nor without each other. Controlled language. Crossbreeding completed for further severance from their original beginning, we must completely annihilate the mother tongue of both the new nigger and the new mule and institute a new language that involves the new life's work of both. You know, language is a particular institution. It leads to the heart of a people. The more a foreigner knows about the language of another country, the more he is able to move through all levels of that society. Therefore, if the foreigner is an enemy of another country, to the extent that he knows the body of the language, to the extent is the country vulnerable to attack or invasion of a foreign culture. For example, you take a slave. If you teach him all about your language, he will know all your secrets, and he is then no more a slave, for you can't fool him any longer. And being a fool is one of the basic ingredients of an incident to the maintenance of the slavery system. For example, if you told a slave that he must perform in getting out our crops, and he knows the language, well, he would know that our crops didn't mean our crops, and the slavery system would break down, for he would relate on the basis of what our crops really meant. So you have to be careful in setting up the new language, for the slave would soon be in your house talking to you as man to man. And that is a death to our economic system. In addition, the definition of words or terms are only a minute part of the process. Values are created and transported by communication through the body of the language to connect them for orderly working in the society. A total society has many interconnected value systems. All these values in the society have bridges of language to connect them for orderly working in the society. But for these language bridges, these value systems could clash and cause internal strife or civil war. The degree of the conflict being determined by the magnitude of issue or relative opposing strength in whatever form. For example, if you put a slave in a hog pen and train him to live there and incorporate him to value it as a way of life completely, the biggest problem you would have out of him is that he would worry you about provision to keep the hog pen clean or partially clean, or he might not worry you at all. On the other hand, if you put this same slave in the hog pen and make a slip and incorporate something in his language whereby he comes to value a house more than he does a hog pen, you got a problem. He will soon be in your house. Tune in to hear the Son of Man teach on the William Lynch speech every Sunday, 11-12 noon Eastern, and every Wednesday. Ain't that a bitch? Hey, man. Oh, Lord, that was my first time reading the Willie Lynch Letter. And I definitely got some more documentaries to come up with, some more uploads, because I want to break some of those sections down and compare them to today's mindset. We out, man. Get in the comment section. Let me know what you think, what you want to hear. Give me some bright ideas. We out.